Yeah. To talk more on the Ethiopian Prime Minister's Nobel Peace Prize, we were joined in studio earlier by Amir Sheikh, the spokesperson for the African Diaspora Foum.
The matter actually was breaked, and we heard that Abiy Ahmed have actually won the Nobel Prize. I was attending a meeting with the affected Ethiopian leaders, migrants, in the part of actually cattle hongs. And a minute after that, the sadness and the reintegration turned up into jubilation, and everybody was actually celebrating. But the truth of the matter is, Abiy's actually win is not just a win for Ethiopia, but it's a win for every African and every person in the globe who values actually peace, and especially to those of us from the Horn of Africa, an area that have never enjoyed peace and stability in the African continent.
This peace that you say has not been enjoyed in this particular area of the continent, the Horn of Africa, and this celebration that we're marking now, it's not necessarily the end, is it?
As per actually the name Abiyot or Abiy, it means in his own tongue actually a revolutionaries. But what actually Abiyot or Premier Abiy have actually achieved in less than 1 year and a half is not something that any actually leader could have achieved in Ethiopia, a nation that have never been colonized. But this, it seems, as miraculous and a hand of God in it. It's not only about the Eritrea problems. Abiy have also been instrumental in the last 1 year and a half in also making sure that the dispute between Kenya and Somalia on maritime is actually sorted. And he have also been instrumental on the renegotiation in the table of the Sudanese military leaders, as well as actually the civilian, as well as also the issue of South Sudan, of which we have seen a deal being signed in Addis Ababa between President Salva Kiir Mayardit of South Sudan and his arch rival.
Yes.
Yes.
So multiple leaders have made efforts to bring about peace in this region. Some have died in efforts to try to bring about peace. What's so special about Abiy Ahmed?
The truth of the matter is Abiy Ahmed is a career soldier and someone who have been in the intelligence for so long for his country. He have been deployed in Rwanda as a peacekeeping mission. He have been also for many years deployed as an intelligence commander in actually Eritrea when they had actually a problem. He is a man who is bringing a vast interest and who knows what peace and the value of actually coexistence and integration of the Eastern Bloc actually means actually. And we have seen practically in 1 year and a half that he have been in the helm of power. The youngest leader in the African continent have achieved what could not be achieved by actually many leaders in the continent, especially in Ethiopia, a nation that have never been colonized. And even internally in Ethiopia, a country that was so divided in regionals and into tribal, coming from the largest ethnic actually group, the Oromo community, Abiy is actually bringing a sort of, he is bringing, what can I actually say, a progress that every Ethiopian internally can actually feel. He have also been instrumental also the unbanning of political parties that were even regarded as a terrorist in the countries, bringing those who were ruining the country's economy and the corrupt. So he is seen a champion not only in Ethiopia, but a champion for the Africa, and that clearly indicates the congratulatory message that were coming from the AU president, our president in South Africa, and many other leaders in the globe.
Give us a sense of what it's like on the ground, because for many years there have been fights, like Nigeria in the west is fighting with the Boko Haram militias. In the east, which is where the Horn of Africa is situated, many efforts to bring about peace have been hampered by rebels. Have these been able to be subdued?
In the Horn of Africa and in East Africa, the 13 countries that make it, none of these countries can say it enjoyed a relative peace since actually independence or democratizations. If you look the surrounding country in Ethiopia, be it Somalia, be it Djibouti, Sudan, South Sudan, none of these countries have enjoyed relative peace. And this actually time, and having such a leader like Abiy recognized internationally for his peace effort, I think this will actually boost his actually energy of doing more in the country. The Somalis always mistreated the Ethiopians, and they never regarded actually as good neighbors. The Somali relation with Eritrea was bad before Abiy actually came as a premier. And there was a belief that the Al-Shabaab, which is also waging war in most parts of southern and central Somalia, were funded and arms were coming from Eritrea. There was no diplomatic relation between Eritrea and actually Djibouti for many years. And it's only through the intervention of Abiy Ahmed that at least the two countries resumed diplomatic relations. So we are seeing a lot under his only 1.5 years. But the expectation is we are very hopeful that at least with this actually attainment, he will achieve more. And also considering the fact that the country is going to its first multi-party democracy in May next year.
So there is relatively a lot of progress in terms of especially the economic development of Ethiopia. The Ethiopian Airlines is ranked amongst one of the best on the continent. What is the situation in Eritrea and Somalia in terms of social cohesion and economic development?
Ethiopia is the second most populous country in the continent after Egypt. And it is the fastest growing economy in the eastern and the Horn of Africa.
I thought Nigeria was the most populous.
The second, second most populous country after Nigeria, and also the best economy in the East and the Horn of Africa.
Okay.
And by virtue of actually seeing such a young leader emerging from Ethiopia, and also inspiring many others, the expectation is, since I have mentioned actually the Ethiopian, actually the Eritreans' problem with the neighborings, is actually sorted. We hope for more and we hope for peace.
So what does this win mean for the citizens of this country, but also of the continent, in terms of sighing, a sigh of relief to say we can talk about peace? For years we've been talking about war, but suddenly we can have a conversation about peace.
The peace means a lot for the people of the Horn and for the Africa. Example between Ethiopia and Eritrea, these are cousins. They speak the same language. They are of the same, actually mostly the same religion. They are of the same culture. And these are people who have been divided by leaders and have been divided by war. Even the movement of the people from one country, the cousins who are separated by many, is something. Ethiopia is the best economy. With over 100 million populace, it is actually good for the whole African continent. And the speech that the press that was released by our President Cyril Ramaphosa clearly indicates that it's actually even good for trade, because such a large number in a country that is virgin and it needs a lot of actually integration by the African continent, it means a lot for the African continent.
So a lot has been said about xenophobia in South Africa, but we don't talk about the racism between darker and lighter Arabs in Sudan, the discrimination between whether you are Lusophone or Francophone or Anglophone on the continent. Those are all the dynamics that the conversations we don't have much of. What does a win like this do for these kind of conversations?
No, it will actually do a lot for, and you are very actually true, especially if we now look at the stories in Cameroon, of which at least a country is divided into two, just because one family on one side speaks French and the other part actually speaks, or where at least the Arabs consider themselves more actually even European than Africans, and the Sudanese itself mistreating its own because of actually the lighter and the darker. So it means, and I think such leaders emerging from the African will actually bridge the gap between the Africans and bring the African unity that the founding president of our continent, the likes of Kwame Nkrumah, Haile Selassie, Ahmed Sekou Toure, Julius Nyerere, Jomo Kenyatta have emphasized for. And coming from actually the youngest leader in the continent, it is something that at least we see is very much actually progressive, because the energy that Abiy have, if used constructively, will bring that desired need of unity in the continent.
What do you mean if used constructively?
We have actually seen many of the Africans, when they come in the first years of their actual experience in the country, has been very vocal, very vibrant, and doing a lot. And we hope that actually this fame that he attained recently will not be actually a boost, and it will not actually renegade or actually bring down the efforts that we have seen him with in the 1 year and the 6 months. And he will continue with his spirit, uniting the African in the cause of unity and regional integrations.
Amir, thank you so much for coming to talk to us this morning. But just to wrap up, let's talk about the African Diaspora Organization that you represent. What are the current diaspora issues that you're faced with?
The African Diaspora is a federation of migrant associations from Africa and Asia.
From different countries.
Yes, currently we have 38 African and Asian countries making the federation. And the challenge is actually we experiencing as an organization is a challenge of actually lack of integration in the mainstream South Africa, despite some of our members being in the country for more than 25 years. And issues of actually documentation comes actually most forth.
How are you interacting with the African Union, which has similar ideals to integrate the
The
continent?
African Union is just actually there, but nothing much is actually implemented on its own. It is a tool that is there. They are given opportunity to our African leaders every year to come once, and they enjoy themselves and party. There is Pan-African Parliament around us here in Midrand, which is also not doing much. But the truth of the matter is we have to fight for our integration into South Africa, and we have to coexist with our own. Also failed by politicians, we are now taking a step to make ourselves available to local community leaders at grassroots, so that at least we can bring our communality with them.
Next year, the President of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, will assume leadership of the organization, the annual leadership. Do you think he will make a difference, judging from his performance so far and his responses to the African question?
Many leaders came before him. From 1963 to date, we have got actually leaders rotating. If African Union can elect Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, someone who have actually put democracy to its lowest in Egypt as his leader, we are not expecting much from Cyril Ramaphosa ascending to power, but still we are hopeful. At least he will do something.
Well, trauma